Welcome to Insectech's Ethical Hacking course videos, module Web Server Hacking. In this video, we will look at Introduction to Web Servers, statistics of some popular web servers, various web server threats, couple of attacking tools to attack web servers, and patch management. To start with, web server can be defined as a hardware or a software that helps to deliver web content that can be accessed through the internet. The primary function of a web server is to deliver web pages on the request of clients using HTTP protocol. When a client requests a simple web page, it will send a lot of HTTP requests for every single image, every single script, and the list goes on. So this particular request includes, the particular response includes delivery of HTML documents and any additional content that may be included by a document, such as images, style sheets, and scripts, etc. Here is a pictorial representation of how a typical web server works. A web browser or any other client will send a request to the web server, as we can see in the figure, and the server will then respond to this request by serving the web page that is available on the server. If it is not available, it may return a HTTP status code such as 404 not found, or if there is a restriction on serving this page, it may return an error code saying 403 forbidden. It can be anything. Apart from this, many web servers support uploading functionality. It means a client who is using his web browser can upload his files onto the web server. It means web servers are not intended only for serving web pages. It may have many other functionalities, and many servers have some scripting languages like JSP, ASP, PHP, which actually extends the functionality of the web server. And these are the few things that we need to know about the web servers, and here is the popular web servers statistics. As per the source is Wikipedia. The server app Apache is actually the most used web server. 62.45% of people are using it, and the next one is IIS, 14.62%, Nginx, and GWS, which is of Google, which is 3.44%. And Apache is a free web server. We can use it for free of cost, and if you want to go for a paid one, we can go for IIS. This is of Microsoft. And now let's get into the actual attacking phase. These are the threats to web servers. The first one is weak passwords. Many web servers contain administrative interfaces that may be publicly accessible, and these may be located at a specific location within the web root or may run on a different port, such as 80808443 or something like that. Now the problem here is administrators forget to change their default passwords like admin, root, tour. This kind of passwords should be changed. If they are not changed, the entire web server can easily be compromised. And denial of service attacks, SQL injections, file inclusion attacks are few more popular threats to web servers. We're actually not going to discuss these three attacks in this particular video. If you want to know about them, please refer the denial of service attack module, SQL injection module, and file inclusion module. We have discussed very clearly how an attacker can attack a web application and then a web server using these threats. And the next one is server misconfigurations. Under this, we are just going to discuss directory listing and dangerous HTTP methods. Now the first one is directory listing. When a web server receives a request for a directory rather than an actual file, it may respond in one of the three ways. The first one is it may return a default resource within the directory, such as index.html. And the next one, it may return an error such as a HTTP status code 403 forbidden, indicating the request is not permitted. And finally, it may return a listing showing the contents of the entire directory. This is the dangerous one, and this is called directory listing. The third one is called directory listing, and there are a couple of problems with this directory listing. If an application doesn't enforce proper access control over their functionality and resources, it may disclose some sensitive data. And files and directories are often unintentionally left within the web root of servers, such as logs, backup files, old versions of scripts, etc. So these are few dangers with this directory listing. Let us now see how exactly this attack works. I'm just opening my localhost /OWASP, and I'm just going to browse this particular directory but not any file within this directory. So let us see how the response would be. Great, it has listed all the files and directories within this particular specific directory, and this is called directory listing. If any sensitive files are there in this specific directory, an attacker may take advantage of them. Let's go back to our presentation, and the next one is dangerous HTTP methods. HTTP requests can use a range of different methods other than the standard GET and POST methods, and many of these methods are designed for specialized tasks. If they are accessible by low privileged users, they may provide a way for attacking the application hosted on the server. And these are the few methods that should not be available for a low privileged user. One is put. It uploads the attached file to the specified location. Delete can delete the specified resource, and copy can copy the specified resource to the location given in the destination header. And even move, it can move the specified resource to the location given in the destination header. Search, it can search a directory path for resources. And PropFind retrieves information about the specified resource such as author, size and content type. Trace returns in the response body the exact request received by the server. This may be used to circumvent some protections against cross-site scripting. It means it can bypass the HTTP only security that is actually a countermeasure for cross-site scripting attack. And we can actually see what are the HTTP methods that are permitted in a specific web server. Let us look at how we can do that. Let us say we are actually trying to browse this particular directory, and I'm just going to launch my live HTTP headers, and now I'll just send the request to the server again, so that I can intercept all the headers using my live HTTP headers. And you can see the request has been sent using GET method. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send an options header to the server. Options, you can see I have replaced GET with options, and now I'm just sending this request to the server, and I'm just closing it. And now if you observe the response from the server, it will list out all the methods that are allowed on this particular server. You can see this is the request. This is the request we have sent. You can see this options, and this is the response we got. And in this specific response we got get, head, post, options, trace methods are allowed by this server. So if an attacker finds any vulnerable method like put or delete, he can take advantage of that specific method. I'm just closing it, and let's quickly go back to our presentation. And these are the attack tools that an attacker can use to attack a web server. Backtrack, it's very well known. Nessus, to find out the vulnerabilities, vendor specific vulnerabilities, and a couple of other vulnerabilities on the remote server. Nmap, to scan it. And Metasploit for exploitation. Hydra for password cracking, and many other tools are there. We can use any of these tools. And now let us look at how command injection can take privilege to attack a web server. I'm just opening a simple file on my web server. I have a simple web page which is actually serving ping requests. If we enter an IP address into this particular form, it will tell whether the IP address is alive or not. It is actually executing some commands on its system. For example, 127.0.0.1 will actually execute, and it will tell whether it is alive or not. Since it is my local host, definitely it will be alive. Let's hope for the best. Great. It has sent a ping command to this specific IP address, and it got responses, and it is displaying the same. Now what an attacker can do is, the only purpose of this particular form is to enter an IP, to get an IP address from the user and to serve whether it is alive or not. Now what an attacker can do is, he can execute some other commands using some special operators like end. What he can do is, he can see what are the directories in the current directory, and it's taking some time. Yeah, you can see that. You can see these are the directories in this specific directory, and he can use any command you can just enter this help command, and you can execute on the remote server. Again, you can see the response. Great. The server is executing whatever the command we are giving. Why not a delete command? We can simply delete, or we can simply upload a file onto the remote server, and we can do many other things, and this is called command injection. Let's go back to a presentation. And this command injection is very dangerous. We can execute some remote commands on a remote server. And the next one is shell upload vulnerabilities. This is one more interesting attack. Now I have opened Windows, I have opened my Backtrack instance, and I'm just browsing my remote website which is hosted on Windows XP server. I have set up a server, WAMP server, on Windows XP machine, and the IP address of Windows XP machine is 192.168.56.102, and I'm just browsing it, and you can see I can see this particular website right over here, and it is saying this website is under construction. We'll get back to you soon. Please upload your details as a text file by clicking the link below. And when I click it, it is actually showing a page where I can browse and upload my file. And what I'm going to do is, in Backtrack I have some beautiful tools. I'm just going to upload a backdoor rather than a text file. In Backtrack we have some inbuilt backdoors. I'm just going to use one of them. You can see the code over here. I'm just copying it, and you can see the usage. After uploading it, you can access it using the parameter cmd, and I'm just opening a text editor, pasting it, save it as backdoor.php. I'm just saving it. Great. Close it. Now I'm just going to upload this backdoor onto the remote server. You can see this backdoor.php, and opening it, I'm just clicking submit. Great, it has been uploaded to the directory uploads, and the file name is backdoor.php. Let's try to open it. from the specific directory. Great. Now we can execute the commands over here by using the parameter cmd. Let us execute the command help. Great, it is listing all the commands available on the server, and we can even see what are the tasks that are actually running on the remote server right now using task list. Great, these are the tasks that are actually running on the remote system. We have simply uploaded a backdoor which is allowing an attacker to run remote commands on the remote system. This is again command injection using shell uploading vulnerability. The particular website, this particular website is allowing an attacker to upload any page he wants. It is actually supposed to allow only txt files, but it is allowing php files as well. So an attacker is able to upload his file, and he has uploaded a backdoor which is written in php, and he is now able to execute the commands on the remote system. And this is shell uploading, this is file upload vulnerability. And an attacker can, this is a simple command line utility, this it's a command line backdoor. Rather than doing this, he can even upload a dangerous graphical user interface, a shell which is having a graphical user interface. He can completely control the system using that remote system. I'm just going to upload a shell which is actually downloaded from internet, and I'm just submitting it. Great, it is uploaded here. Now copy it, and now I'm just pasting here. Execute it. It is taking time to load. Still taking time. Great, we got the shell, and this is a graphical user interface. This is also a backdoor. We can do any kind of actions we want. We can perform many actions. We can delete the file, we can modify the files, and we can do anything. For example, you can go to the www. Right now we are in uploads directory, and we can even go back to the root folder www, and we can deface the entire website. And it is taking a lot of time, and this is how we can simply, yeah, you can see it is now listing all the files in the root directory, which is www, and we can now delete any file. We can upload our own files. We can use the remote server as our own server as well. And this is how a remote web server can be compromised. And let's quickly go back to our presentation. We have seen a simple demonstration of how we can utilize the shell upload vulnerabilities to compromise the remote server. And the next one is open vendor specific vulnerabilities. If you are using Apache web server, Apache server may have couple of vulnerabilities, and we may utilize it. And if you are using IIS web server, if the victim is using IIS web server may have some vulnerabilities. We can exploit them using any exploitation tool. And in this, let us look at how we can attack a remote web server using vendor specific vulnerabilities. In our case, I'm just going to use my Backtrack instance as an attacker system, and the remote web server is Windows XP. And in XP, I have installed WAMP server. First, let us open the remote website. Let us see what it is showing. This is 192.168. And this is the page we have right now. And now let us open our Metasploit. Let me fire up my Metasploit framework MSF by typing MSF console, and I have just typed MSF console to launch my Metasploit framework. If you are not sure with how to use this Metasploit framework, please go through the Metasploit framework module and please come back to this specific demonstration. Great, it has launched my Metasploit. Now I'm just going to search for the exploits that are specific to Windows XP Service Pack 2. Since I'm using Windows XP Server, I'm just going to search for Net API vulnerabilities, and I'm just going to search for the exploits associated with Net API vulnerability. And search space Net API is a command. Search is the command to search for a specific exploit or payload or anything. And we got 4 exploits. I'm just going to use the 4th one, whose rank is great actually. So I'm just copying it and use the command use space the exploit you want to use. I'm just pasting it, and now I'm going to use the payload Metapreter payload with reverse TCP. So I'm just typing set payload space Windows Metapreter slash reverse underscore TCP. Great, now let us look at what are the options that we have to set. Great, we need to set our host, which is the IP address of the remote host, in our case 192.168.56.102, and we need to set lhost as well, which is 192.168.56.101 in our case. And now I'm just typing the same command show options, and you can see every option is set. Now let us exploit it. Great, a Metapreter session has been opened. Now let us see what are the directories and files in the current directory. Great, we can see one nice directory which is WAMP. The system is running WAMP server, so let us get into that. Now let us list out. In this we have www directory. Let us get into that. Great, now let us list out the files and directories. Great, we have index.html and index.php. Let us look at what is the file we are actually looking at. Index.html is a file we are browsing. You can refresh it. Great, now let's go back. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete this file index.html. Now if you browse, it is saying it's not found. It means the file has been deleted. Now what I'm going to do is I have one index.html file in my system. This is the one I have, and I'm just going to upload this index.html file onto the remote server. So I'm just going to write the command upload index.html, which is in my root directory, and index.html should be the file name on the remote server. Great, it has been uploaded. Now if we browse it, if we browse the same file. Great, this website has been hacked, and this is how an attacker can deface the website using vendor specific vulnerabilities. We found a vulnerability on the remote web server and we have exploited it, and after exploitation we have simply replaced the index file, which is the root file of any web server. Thus we have defaced the website using some vendor specific vulnerability on the remote web server, and this is how an attacker can deface the websites. He can even completely deface all the websites that are hosted on the remote server. That is called mass defacement, and he can do any other things that he wants. Let us quickly go back to our presentation and let us look at the countermeasures to these web server vulnerabilities. We need to fix all the vulnerabilities. We need to we have seen the HTTP methods, we need to close them. We have seen directory listing, we need to enable we should not enable that directory listing on the web server, and we need to apply vendor patches. Software vendor must release security updates periodically. If one vulnerability exists on his server, he needs to release a patch. This particular vulnerability may be disclosed by their employees, the vendors, or an independent security researcher may find a vulnerability and he may report it, or an attacker. Most of the attackers may be attacking the same vulnerability repeatedly, so that the vendor will come to know that a specific vulnerability exists in their specific product. So they need to update, they need to release the patches, and wherever is feasible, security fixes should be applied as soon as possible after they are made available. And this can be done in two types. One is customer can download and install the patch, or during the installation of the product itself, it may have a option automatic update. So these patches can be installed by manually by the customer or automatically by the software product itself. So this is how we can implement patch management to stop vendor specific vulnerabilities. And that's all for this web server attacking video. Thank you.